the cloud. Yeah, sorry about that. I don't know. I'll make sure that the passcode is in the in fact, I'll do that right this moment. Events, here we go. Edit, live, edit, link to join, standing passcode.
I was hoping it was a standing one.
Yeah. I went back to the previous event and found it. One of the previous events in the community and found it.
Yeah, this one's my fault, guys. When I moved it, so it was cluttering up the events. It was Klatsch. So I'm like, let's just give it its own thing, so that the schedule doesn't look like all we do is drink coffee and chat, which is what we like to do.
Well, it should be whiskey, we learned yesterday, right, George?
Exactly. Yeah. Anna's awesome. She's a character. Oh, how's everyone doing this morning?
Good.
For Paul, it's 6:35 a.m. So it's
If you see me kind of blinking my eyes, it's only normal.
yeah.
I got another thing I got to jump on around 7:00. So.
Well, guys, what I was hoping we could kick around this morning. Larry is jumping on. Here, I will make sure that he has the passcode. Larry Princess texted me 867530 send. All right, Larry's going to jump on. Sure, Steve Duke might be joining.
You sure that's not 8675309?
8675309. Yeah, I just dropped the 9. But you'll see on almost everything I do, by the way, because I never use it as a password out in my life. So I'm like, okay, here's something that we'll all be like, oh, sing it with me. And
yeah.
I probably should have made it 5309. So there's Steve and Bob, and Larry is going to come in. And I don't know who else is. Scott Barth is joining as well. I hope that Scott isn't out there looking for. I'm just going to shoot him a quick email here. Compose.
There he
Is Scott Barth coming in?
Yeah.
Oh, great. Then I don't need to send him an email.
Are you going to send out those? I always rely on those emails that I can just say join.
Interesting. You know what I'm going to do? I will make it a calendar thing, and I'll invite all y'all, and you should be able to just click join. But now that it's in hey Scott, sorry about that, man.
Morning, George. Thank you.
I forgot to put the passcode into the new and improved.
Yeah, I just when I saw the list of comments, and there were more idiots like me.
I know you're not idiots. So I had taken it. So what I've done is I've pointed the core value and the growth drive. Instead of using a separate calendar engine, I'm like, wait, stop the insanity. We have enough to do. Let's just use the circle calendar, right? People can comment. It's much more fun, more dynamic, and let's get the coffee Klatsch out of there, because all it read was 14 instances of coffee Klatsch, and then it was something I really want people to focus on. That's why we made the change. I'm sorry I didn't put the passcode in, but it's now in the post.
Makes sense. Thank you.
George,
I could also get rid of the passcode and just have a waiting room. But the way that it's set up, guys, it's if I'm not here, you can log in, right? And so whoever logs in first becomes the moderator, mentor, admin. So something I was really looking forward to kicking around is we have a conference, a summit coming up, and the summit has. I'm going to share my screen. The summit has, get out of my way, thank you. Has sort of 3 components. On day 1, we do the growth, the certification workshop. That's on days 1 and day 2. On day 2, we are also doing 2 masterclasses. One is on financial modeling for business advisors, because you have essentially all asked for that. And the other is a core value discover intensive that I'll lead, and I'll probably lead that in the Larry and I'll figure it out. And I guess I don't need to lead the Discover Intensive, by the way. There are people who are better at this than me. So, and then there's the conference day. Well, what do we want to hear about in the conference? And I put it out to the community, and I've had some sidebars. I think Steve Duke, thanks for posting. That was in a sidebar conversation. I'm like, just put it in circle, please. So this is a work in progress, right? This isn't a shakedown cruise. This is for your heartfelt feedback. As we design, what do you guys, if you decide to fly into Charleston, if you decide to participate in the master classes and the conference, what is it you would want to be? And Dwayne, I know that you're already registered. Thank you. You and Greg Schumann are registered. We've got a nice group. That's my whiteboard. Your names are you're on the board. All right. So,
and I think we're gonna split up because there's things happening at the same time. So I'm pretty sure Greg will be interested in the financial side of it on while I'm trying to get my little small C cert on the other side. So
okay, cool.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
Cool.
so those are all happening. The part that's dynamic is the conference, right? What do we want to learn about? And here is what, in conversations with several of you, and you know who you are, and these are typically inbound phone calls, so thank you. What are we going to do? Well, breakfast, we'll start at 7:30, and the venue puts on a great spread, and then we'll do, I'm just real quick, 10 minutes of welcome. This is the conference part. At this point, we will have all been together for a day or two, so real quick, 10 minutes, and then an hour and 20-minute. We're going to have a bunch of really smart people in the room, and that is an opportunity to sort of pool our knowledge. And we're thinking that using the LX Council methodology, we'll run essentially a big peer group meeting, which is, we'll start with my transition. I think it's a terrific exercise, centering exercise. And then we're going to do 2 minutes to explain the COPE process. And then we'll walk through two or more COPEs. A COPE is a challenge, an opportunity, a problem, or an idea. And this is the methodology we use in peer groups when this is part of the value of a peer group. And the two COPEs, the two questions I get the most questions about are biz dev. Steve Duke, I hear you, man. How do we find and win new clients? And there are going to be a lot of people with a lot of go-to-market experience in the room. Let's work through that. And if you guys think a different topic is more appropriate, tell me. Right? And then the second one would be an engagement case. And the thinking is to put out again to the community, what engagement question would you like to see answered? And we can work through it again collectively as a room. And if the group is really big, we'll break it into two parts. We'll break into two groups, and then we'll compare notes. So that would be the first hour and 20 minutes, which sounds like a lot, but those of you who have been through the certification workshop know that an hour and 20 minutes when you're workshopping goes by like that. Okay. And now if it's okay with you guys, let me walk through the rest of this, and then we'll come back. What we try to do is tell a story. So if the theme is building a thriving advisory business, what are some of the elements we can touch on while we're there? So there's working through as a group, sort of grounding ourselves with these two COPEs. Steve Duke had suggested in Circle the go-to-market. How do we package our services and sell on value? If I tell a client for $7,500, I'm going to blank, what does that look like? If we tell a client it's $20,000, or how do we move from hourly to value? And how do we package up our services? And we can kick around some really good, valid approaches, right? Then we have a quick break. And then I thought we would explore the twin value gaps. And it's been a very, very popular class I put on for NACPA. This is the growth conversation. And, so sitting down with your client and having a conversation, rather than simply saying, okay, you want to grow your revenues, you want to get EBITDA to 2.5 million. We're going to get into the why do you want to get EBITDA to 2.5 million? What's driving that number? What are you hoping to accomplish? Where does this go long term? we have found that, and this is something we, you guys, but this is a key part of both the launch and the workshop, is the growth conversation. So educate our client about the power of the multiple. Really, if you want to get to 2.5 million because you want to sell the business, we can tease it out. But this is about educating the client. And importantly, there's and several of you, I think essentially all of you, or all of you, have been invited to on the 16th of August. And if you haven't been invited, oversight on my part, gladly add you to the list. One of our own, Greg Maddox, has developed. He's taken an Excel spreadsheet that many of you are using to calculate how much income do you need to replace in retirement. This is kind of it smells like exit planning, but we're really talking about predictable, transferable value. What would that number need to be? And the earlier we start working on it, the better. So he's created a little piece of software, an app. It's really cool though. It's elegant, and the way he uses it to spin up a conversation, which he'll do for us in a demo on the 16th, and I will record and share with you guys. So if we use the wealth gap, he calls it the freedom point. That is a term that Value Builder also uses. It's merely descriptive, but I don't feel like using anything that Value Builder uses. So we'll call it the wealth gap calculator. I'm thinking about bringing it to you guys as a white label tool in the growth drive, in the growth drive quiver. So if we do that, have that conversation, we would then go into, we could then do a workshop, a group exercise on sort of practice what we just learned. Again, guys, this is just me thinking out loud. And then we'll take 15 minutes to do key takeaways. That helps cement our understandings. It helps us, it's a good exercise. We'll do lunch. Again, they do a really nice spread. And then I have an open 45-minute or hour-long slot. This could be easily be an hour. Actually, let's just make this an hour now, because you guys do not need to hear me spin up. And then we'll do, as a plenary session, we'll do key takeaways, thank yous, next steps. Thoughts? Scrap it. Some of this is good. We love it.
I think there's a lot of value in there, George.
Thanks, Bob.
One quick question I had is the day before on the finance.
Yes.
Can you tell us a little bit more about that? Who's doing it? Is it on like VF Pro or what's that? A little more detail on that?
Bob, that's a great question. So that would be, I am thinking about, I have a meeting with Steve at VFD Pro. Yes, that would be a fine modeling tool for a good, not fine, not damning it with faint praise. It's really powerful. That might be a great, I don't want to be, I would love to use VFD Pro as our model for running that class. Who's going to be running it? That there's a couple of people who have asked if they could, and we haven't made a decision. It's probably a module that's better led by a couple of people, because it's a lot. And the danger of that module is that I would love to keep it focused on a case. If not, and it could just balloon. I want to make sure we deliver value. So Bob, in short answer, yes, I think we'll use something like VFD Pro or something similar as our modeling tool. We'll deliver the case in advance. We'll deliver the models in advance. And we might even want to do a prequel. If people want, let's get together and kibitz about it. Make sure that when we come into the room, we're all ready to rock and roll. And that's where we are so far. That's why I want to tackle this stuff now in August, so that we close out the month with all of this nailed down. Everybody knows what's going on. They can decide if it's going to deliver their value. It's going to deliver value.
Great.
So thoughts, Bob?
No, I think that's good.
Okay.
As the other question I had is on the twin value gaps. You're
Yes.
talking about the wealth gap. What are you? I don't get maybe I'm just slow this morning. What's
got
the twin part of the value gap?
Okay, great question. Awesome. Sorry. I'm doing this for so long that I made an assumption, which shame on me. Okay, so do you know how, if you just sit down with a business owner and you do discover, if we show a value gap in the business, you know, your business could be worth 18 million, but based on company specific risk, after due diligence, you know, we're highly confident you're only going to get 14 million. That $4 million is a business value gap. Great. Now I sit down with my wealth planner and I say, my wealth advisor, and I say, you know, he says, okay, well, how much money do you have under management? I've got, what's it typical? Somebody told me the typical business owner has $80,000 under management when they go to sell their business. Never done any diligence on that, but let's say I've got $80,000 under management. Okay, how much income do you need to replace? Well, I currently take 30,000 a month out of the business. All right, 360. How much do you need to net from the business to replace the 360? Because that 80,000 isn't doing anything. Well, that's your personal value gap. So you have a business value gap and you have a personal value gap, and typically closing the business value gap doesn't close the personal value gap. And so we have a conversation about aspirational value. To get to aspirational value, we need to do two things. We need to make sure the business can generate as high a multiple as possible and that it will successfully go to market. And we need to, then we're probably going to need to crank up EBITDA. So those are, so that becomes, you know, I've just kind of, that's kind of the growth conversation, right?
Yeah. So
Did that answer your question?
It does. If I may recommend that you make it a 3 value gaps.
Okay, I like it.
And you said it, you're going to do it anyhow. The third one being what I would call is the profit gap, which is just a gap on where's your EBITDA and where could it be.
So is that referring to margin? Or
it's referring to the one way to refer to is EBITDA as a percent of sales.
yeah, and this gets into, then this could be a rapid growth fix, right?
Yeah, another one is based on, you know, where's your EBITDA versus best in class companies in your industry.
And who was just, okay, terrific. I like it. I like it. Yeah.
George, would this be a standalone calculator or will it come into the core value tool?
It won't currently. Give me time, man. Give me time. But that's a great question, Jack. Right now, it is a standalone. It is what Greg has done is take something we're all doing manually and put it into just a more elegant package that it just shows better stagecraft. And it works well. And you'll see on the 16th. It is so long term. That's a different conversation, right? What should the software be long term? And there's going to be conversation about that, and we're just not ready to have that conversation yet.
Is this data, is it contemplated during the discovery or is it after the deep dive? Where does this data come into play?
So Jack, I think in the typical engagement, you know, if we follow the growth drive methodology, we're having a growth conversation as early in the engagement as possible. Now, you know, there are a bunch of variables there, but in an ideal world, we sit down with a business owner and we have, you know, we start creating vulnerability and trust. We have a growth conversation. We have scripts, ideas, flow charts in the growth drive playbook that you all got either with your launch course or your certification. And so it's going to be as early as possible, Jack. So you might have that conversation and say, right, if the result of the growth conversation is discovering that there's a personal value gap. You know, you need to replace 30 grand a month, and you're nowhere near doing that. Now we start getting into options. What I don't want to do, that is a very healthy way to approach an engagement, right? That is a very healthy way to stay up as a peer with the CEO, working on, you know, fundamental role of the CEO is to maximize shareholder value. We should be helping them maximize shareholder value. And then we're getting into, why are you maximizing shareholder value? What do you want to do with, as Andy Weeble says, your business is a vehicle between where you are today and your wealth goals.
Hey, George,
Yes, sir.
do you mind if I jump in?
Please, Steve. I don't
So,
mind at all.
okay, and I got a meeting at 10, but Jack, I've got one of those tools that George is describing as well. But to try to say something, to put it in context, it essentially establishes the why someone would want to do something with their business. For example, I've got a client that has a $3 million value gap. Okay, well, naturally, us business growth people would say, well, you need to close that. Well, why? If the owner's already got all the money in the world that he needs, then why should he go to any trouble, you know, trying to, you know, fix the business and grow it? So anyway, it establishes context for all of the other conversations.
That's a great point, Steve. Thanks. Anyone else?
Thanks, Steve.
And for a lot of business owners, legacy, they may have already socked away all the money they feel like they need, but they are really, really focused on their, I should bring up that they really are focused on what their, where are we here? You got to get the pictures out of the way. No, it's not in Sheets. I apologize, guys. Bear with me 2 secs. I'll bring up something to illustrate the point. They may be really interested in, I haven't looked at this for a little bit. Is this it? He asked. Yes. No. Forgot. Well, sorry, I don't have the big pyramid, but you know, they care deeply about their legacy. Yeah, this isn't helpful. They care deeply about their legacy, and so what they want to do is, are you guys still seeing my screen? Are you seeing the session lab?
Just seeing a smiling face.
Went back to gallery.
Right. Okay, I'm just gonna unshare. Hey, Steve. Good morning. How are you?
Morning, how are you?
Okay, there
Sorry,
we go.
I'm late.
Oh, no worries. So they may care about, to Steve's point, that there are other motivators, right? They may care about monetizing the business. They may care about the business simply surviving so that their people keep their jobs, that their suppliers keep supplying, et cetera. You know, it may be important to make that business immortal. They may want to give back. You know, there are a bunch of different motivators. And here we're sort of sliding into exit planning, but those are still motivators for a growth engagement. Now we're just trying to figure out, make sure that we have an emotional connection between growing the business, because that fuels commitment, right?
One of the studies, George, that the IEPA did, you're probably aware of this, but I think it was 83% of the business owners that bothered to do an exit plan found that their business wasn't what they needed it to be.
That's exactly right. 83% is the right number, and that's with, I think he's over 3,000. He's got, I mean, it's a statistically significant pool. So that goes to, so when we're putting a story together about building a thriving advisory business, one of the things we can do is, well, you know, the thriving advisory business is based on happy clients. How do we get happy clients? We actually may help them move forward. How do we actually help them move forward? And how do we, maybe selfishly, but don't you want to work with clients who are motivated and committed, and committed emotionally and financially, I should say, to growing their business? and to building a thriving, immortal business. And, you know, that's a fun engagement. So, good morning, Larry.
Good morning.
How are you, man?
Apologies.
No worries. No worries. So does this make sense? I know I've given you a lot to think about. And I'm happy to, I can turn this into a PDF and I'll post it I'll post it to the circle. And I'd welcome your feedback as we're, you know, we're going to screw this down in the coming few weeks.
Is this for November?
This is for November. Yes, sir.
Not the master classes, but the summit.
Yes,
Okay, got
the
it.
conference portion.
Conference. Good.
So, Larry, and maybe this is a good opportunity, you know, we've just discussed a lot. Maybe it's a good opportunity to recap if that would be helpful. So start, Larry, you and I have discussed this. Start with the power of the community and we'll work through a couple of COPE topics. We'll move into, so we're telling a story. The story is building a thriving advisory business. When you go to market, packaging your services, selling on value, we could potentially, time permits, at least tease out auditing your client base. Because a lot of us have, well, auditing your client base to mining your client base for opportunities. The twin value gaps, and Bob Oliver suggested there's a third value gap, which is the profit gap. You know, are your profits where they should be? We'll workshop this session. And maybe, and I'm thinking we'll use the wealth value gap calculator that Greg Maddox has created. It's called, he's calling it Freedom Point. And it's a piece of software I'm strongly considering just making generally available, easily available to the community. I mean, you guys could go and get it, but so we workshop that. Let's maybe use the calculator in groups, do a key takeaways session, lunch. Then we have an open block here, an hour. What would we want to learn about? And I put it as theory, but it could also easily be an exercise. It's up to you guys. What if in this additional hour, what would we love to learn, share, do, experience? And Larry, we also discussed the day prior, financial modeling for business advisors,
Right.
Value Discover Intensive, where we're going to talk about using the tool, senior leadership alignment, discover workshop market events, and selling a simple service based on Discover.
Very good. Thanks.
That's no worries.
Hey, George, on that, on the whole value gap conversation with the 2 or 3, whatever that number becomes, I just had some firsthand experience 2 weeks ago with a client, husband and wife team, that we started our engagement in December to build their business so that within 5 years, they could sell a portion. They want to retain the business, not be active in the business, and sell to some of their team members as they start to build a second level management team. And because they have a major partner that is likely to bring the very service that they offer inside, that represents about 45% of their revenue right now, we've got to be thinking now, how do we replace that? How do we grow the pie so that it's a smaller portion and so forth? But it led to, and it was really interesting when you were talking about the why, we were talking about the number back in December that would give them to freedom to live the life that they want in their late 50s and beyond. And then this changed everything in the conversation where I said, how about a new number that you could just essentially really be comfortable with? They never considered selling to a third party other than the original conversation. And it was so interesting when that conversation went to, we could get to this number in 5 years. And at that point, you could sell to a third party and be done, especially with the headaches you've gone through. What do you think? And he said, to be really honest with you, we don't have the level of loyalty to our employees that I think we've given you the impression. They said that if we get the right price and with the right, the right acquiring partner, at least on the front side, we would be fine to be able to walk away at that point and not have the ongoing headache. So just 2 weeks ago, our engagement kind of shifted in terms of the focus to not accelerating to a target price that gave them financial security, but actually getting to a price that gave them financial freedom and life freedom. So it was real interesting. I think that why becomes so powerful in that conversation with owners. What's the reason to get to X?
Yeah. Yeah, that's fascinating. Yeah. And things like, life comes at you fast.
Yeah.
Yeah. Guys, thoughts?
Hey, George, I've got some I'd like to share. One of the things when I was studying, where I could fit this in the summit and everything, I was wishing, it looked like to me this third day was the best day, but I was thinking, I wish it was longer. I don't know why it's closing off, but the one thing down below, I can't see it where you're at, but where you had, at 1 o'clock theory, I was wondering, I've gained so much from Marie sharing with me what she's done. And then I also remember from our last one, the fellow by the name of Mark Parrott.
Yep.
And I was almost just wondering, what Marie does is she gave me some great ideas on my process of delivery for Discover. And Mark got me off on something that, basically how he markets. And he put in my cap Mass Mutual. And because I was thinking, how can I get to big numbers or whatever? And yesterday, the guy that heads the financial advisor firm in Charlotte for Mass Mutual reached out to me. And so I did a little bit of homework with my Louisville friends, and they do have some, not all. In her firm, they have 200 advisors and a few do this, but I was thinking that the combination of my tax and business consulting in the financial advisor arena, they are really pounding the advisors to add tax planning and business planning or business discussions too. And so I was thinking that, Mark kind of, and he may not be the one, but the ideal of Marie with their processes and someone else of our group that's very successful on the marketing side, both of those have been proven to be very helpful to me. So.
Did you say tax and estate planning?
No, tax planning and business planning. It's interesting, and there's, the tech side is coming through with tools to say, here, even though you don't know taxes, here's how you tax plan.
It's interesting. There is a huge push, Jack. That's very, very interesting. And by the way, I'm meeting with Mass Mutual coming right up. I'm always trying to figure out how to keep moving this battleship so we'll have referrals. We've had a few, but how do we get referrals out of the Mass Mutual? Because they're being pushed to help clients grow.
Yeah, and I think it's what they're trying to do is, is the CPAs move towards the financial advising. It was kind of an anomaly, but now more and more are saying, whoa, would you rather be with someone who can connect all these dots?
Yeah.
And, so I was thinking, I'm really in a good position because the core value just leads to so many discussions that are relevant. And so anyway, I'm excitedly, you ought to see the paperwork behind me on building up this Discover process and how I'm looking at it and using it. But a key part for me is getting my messaging right. And then finding those targets. And so I think I've got an in here with some of those Mark Parrott type marketing influences to pursue and expand my growth in this business advisory world. And it's getting the attention of a big market, the financial advisors. So all these resources, all these coffee clashes, all these things, George, the people involved, their willingness to share are just so powerful and so helpful to me.
That's great, Jack. Thank you. I'd love to hear that. Thank you. That's great because I really want to help you guys. I want to help you guys grow your practices, connect with clients. So that's a potential conversation. And then there's someone I could invite in to talk about this. You know, how do we connect with, and that's actually something that Maddox is doing. How do we connect with the right COIs who need us, right? Your Mass Mutual person doesn't want to lift the hood and work on the engine. You do, and that's a beautiful synergy. You guys are growth doers, right?
Yeah.
They're growth opportunity finders, growth opportunity identifiers, and then they're in the now what. And where are they referring people? They're referring them to their CPAs. They're referring them to subject matter experts. You know, the people are still flailing, and our process, our methodology makes sure that we have a very efficient, high ROI engagement, whether it's a project or a long-term that helps the client, it helps move that client where they want to go. And that's a tremendous opportunity. We just need to keep beating the gong. So that's a potential topic here.
Right.
So George, just to say, the core of this at the conference is bang on for me. I'm aware of what Greg's doing because I met him last year, and my antennas went straight up. I heard when he showed me what he was doing. Quick question for you. I may have missed it earlier. Is there a spreadsheet or a calculator that people are using on the gaps, and is that part of Greg's software, or is there something else that I think you referred to something? So
great question, Steve. So Greg has created what he calls a Freedom Point calculator, and it's a way to put in how much income do you need to replace, what assets do you have under management, what outside sources of revenue do you have, what passive income. And then, okay, great. Now, how are we going to fund the rest? Here's what it needs to be. Here's what your business looks like. What are your profit margins? Are they in line? It's sophisticated. Not pretty, I don't want to damn it with faint praise. It's sophisticated, and it's the right level of sophistication for this conversation. Once we've had this conversation, then we can use, maybe we've already used Discover, or we can bring Discover to the table. And to whoever, we have the room all day. There is nothing that says we have to stop at 2:30. So I am thrilled to add sessions if we want. So we could have lunch, theory, exercise. That would take us to 3. We can go to 4. You know, I'm happy to.
Just get us to where we justify happy hour and staying for dinner for another night.
I love the way you think.
At 2:00, we got to go home. You got to hit the road at 2.
All right. Well, I can
take
us to. So we just need to add another block here of 30 minutes.
Yeah, but one of the things I took away from Marie was that she, as a boomer, I'm very challenged on the technology side. But one of the things I was so impressed with, and same with Rob Oliver, they've got these incredible, nice marketing pieces, and I wouldn't even begin to know where to put that together or make it look nice. And I think helping us fine tune our deliverable to something that's high brand level is invaluable for me.
Okay, let's talk about that. So you just hit on, I am actively working and committed to delivering. And what I really hope by the end of the month, I'm working hard, but it doesn't all depend on me, to have a couple of packages that you guys, so one would be, here are some resources, good luck. The next is, here are some resources and a professional to help you implement them to bolt them onto your practice. And then there's hiring a marketing firm. And I think that middle ground is a great place. That is a service, Steve Duke, if you're still on, that's something that we are going to make available to you, under the understanding that neither core value nor growth driver marketing agencies. So that's why I'm so careful about putting it under, where it belongs, with a professional.
Right.
And we have some really cool ideas.
Yeah.
I mean, so we have a cool package, and I'm actually waiting to get the proposal back right now,
Right, good.
and we can cover that next Tuesday. So I just extended the conference to 4. We have the room all day. Run till 8 o'clock.
Don't forget
So-
happy hour, brother.
Yeah, so if you guys have ideas, and this doesn't have to be an exercise, I'm gonna turn this into a PDF and post it in Circle. Scribble notes on it, scan it, send it back, shoot me an email, comment, please comment in Circle. That's the most helpful. Then it's democratized. We can all see it, comment on it, like it. And if you guys, we're putting a lot of resource and materials into Circle. If you make it a habit of checking in maybe Tuesday and Thursday morning, and spend, dedicating a few minutes to go through, and that would be terrific.
Awesome.
So I think it is just the 3 of us now, guys. People have had to peel off. So maybe we'll call it. I will turn this into a PDF right now and put it in Circle, and we'll take it from there.
Thank you. Good seeing you guys.
Questions before we break, guys?
Thank you, George.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
Jack, great to see you.
Yeah, good to see you, Scott. Love that background.
Indeed.
That's why I live here, Jack.
Awesome. Thanks, guys. Have a great
Thanks, guys.
day.
Thank you, George.
Bye.